Hey, everybody, Kevin here with Pursuing Pixels, and welcome back to another edition of Save It for the Cast, and you know the drill by now. As per usual, I'm going to be kicking the ball over to John, Randall, and I for a little chit-chat in just a little bit. We got two little chunks of conversation coming up, kind of leaning heavily into some Lonely Mountains Downhill. John and I just can't put that game down lately. Talk a little Ollie World, kind of just all over the map. I've been digging into my itch.io feed a little bit, mostly just adding stuff to my collection that I want to play, but now that I've been getting kind of back into my groove again, John talks about a bunch of stuff from XSEED Publishing. I'll probably pluck a little bit more from this conversation that we had too for a future saver for the cast, because John and Randall have still been playing some of the East collection. I guess John kind of just started it and hasn't really talked about it, I don't think, on the podcast proper or save it for the cast just yet. But anyways, enough teasing for the stuff that's coming up here in just a little bit. But I'm going to talk about some of the stuff that I've been playing as per usual as well. Last night I actually went over to my cousin's, almost forgot about it until my brother texted me. I thought it was the following weekend. We went over for my cousin's daughter's birthday, and my one cousin Drew, that I've talked about many times on the podcast, he's always like, hey, let's play some video games as soon as I get there. So I was like, hey, let's wait a little bit, and then we started playing. They have the EA franchise pack or whatever it's called, where you can play all the EA games. I guess it's not the franchise pack I was thinking about. We ended up playing some Madden 2024, which I haven't played a Madden game probably since maybe Madden 08 at the latest. I kind of remember falling off after they went to the next gen, quote unquote, in the Xbox 360 era. I feel like they kind of lost a little bit of the focus on the gameplay. Me and my brother used to play the PS2. Yeah, we played mostly on GameCube, I feel, if I recall correctly. But that era of games, I just feel like we played a ton of Madden in those days, and just love the kind of it was realistic enough, but still arcadey enough, where I feel like they were trying a little bit too much to lean into the simulation realism for a little while, where actually last night, the gameplay had way more of that fluidity that I felt like it was missing. It was real clunky in the, Xbox 360 era, at least the early days. Again, I kind of just fell off after the first, maybe one or two of that era, but playing last night, I had a lot of fun. I felt kind of bad beating my cousin. He kept going, "Oh, try to do a fake field goal, try to mount a little comeback at the end." But I ended up winning the game, and it was pretty fun. It's nothing that I'm gonna run out and buy. But actually, now that I think about it, with Game Pass, I don't know if you get the latest version of Madden, but I think you get the previous year or something like that through the EA Play. I don't know how all that stuff works, but I'm if I ever feel like just firing up a random, game or two, to be realistic, I'm probably not gonna, install it, because it's those games are always huge these days. So am I really gonna leave it sitting there on my Xbox? I don't know, but either way, I still had a good time, and kind of reminiscent, because my brother was there too, so we were talking about playing back in the day a little bit, and the other night, aside from that, just back to some of the stuff that I've been playing solo. I'm not really going to talk about this one too much, but it might end up making it into a future Save It for the Cast, because I was telling John and Randall just a tiny bit about it, but partially why I don't want to talk about it here as well, is I don't really want to spoil anything, although this game's been out for a little while now, but it's called INSCRYPTION. I picked it up on Nintendo Switch, and basically the one thing that I told them, and I told them a tiny bit more, but it's just such a cool game that while I'm playing it, it's a game that you're playing, but it feels like it's playing you a little bit. It's got just so much cryptic stuff going on. It's really, really cool stuff. And then otherwise, apart from that, I did a stream the other day, kind of just felt like playing some kind of, quote unquote basic stuff. I just want to play some arcade precision platforming. And I fired up on the Switch. I guess these were on two different streams, but I played this game, Crystal Chip Collector E, that either, I can't remember if it was the developer or the publisher, but they were kind enough to send this game our way. And it's just got a really cool, zany, Japanese style to it. It's got these really tiny, you play as this little tiny cat. Every time you beat a stage, it's just all the little just the presentation elements of the game. It's just got so much energy every time you collect a chip, and basically, you're collecting these chips on each stage. You're kind of playing inside of a hacked computer. It kind of has a lot of story going on. You can breeze right through it if you'd like, but I even just tapping A and breezing through it. You can skip it, proper as well. But I was oh, let's just see how long this is. And I was man, this goes on forever. So there's some kind of decent story going on here. There was a wizard and all sorts of nonsense going on, or at least chaos going on. But otherwise, the gameplay, you basically just have to collect all the, at least so far, it's been green and blue, or maybe they're yellow and blue chips on each stage. And at the start, they're just on the stage, and you just got to snag them. And it's just a single screen I guess no scrolling, but side-on platformer. And you just got to collect all the chips. And then as you get a little bit further on, they add the element of like there's these switches that you have to hit that then like if you hit the blue one, then it triggers like, okay, now I can collect the blue chips, but the yellow ones are like electrified and I have to now hit a yellow switch to before I can grab those. Or maybe it's the other way around. I can't remember. But and then they start throwing in elements where like, okay, now there's switches on stages that only appear one time. So you can't go back and forth and go, oh shoot, I need to go grab those last couple. And then on top of that, you're on a pretty strict time limit. I think you get like 20 seconds, but I mean, it goes pretty quick in the sense that some of these stages get a little bit mazy and you have to like, okay, I got to really plan my route. And then on top of that, even still, you only get 3 lives and it's single hit death. And that's 3 lives to get through like a whole world of, I think maybe 15 stages. I can't remember exactly. Maybe it varies between world to world. And then there was even kind of like almost like a mini boss section. Almost kind of reminded me a little bit of like beating up the car in Street Fighter or whatever, but this was like a fan and you had to keep like, at first I couldn't figure out what to do, but you had to keep like just jumping into these dust clouds so that it doesn't overheat and then grabbing like the little ice particles that fly out of it. Like it was just kind of a lot of, like I said, chaos going on. But I really had a good time playing that one in spite of the, it was a little bit more challenging than I was expecting just based on its like kind of cute presentation. And then from another stream that I did, and I played the demo of this one for a long while ago back for a stream. The game's called Bzzzt, Bzzzt, and you just play as this like tiny little robot character. And this is another game where I just really love the presentation. Like you almost like are going through this like laboratory where this is like, kind of Dr. Wily-esque enemy. And then the Dr. Light style character and, their companion or sidekick that's like leveling up your character. I really love all the little like upgrades. This is like not so much it's kind of like a single screen arcade platformer, but it does throw in some scrolling later on in the game, or not even later on, quite a bit early on in the game. And then on top of that, it even throws in some like shoot 'em up stages where it was like a transition from world to world. I don't know if it's going to do that every time, but as I went from like the kind of second or the first biome to the second, it was like the shoot 'em up stage, and it just, again, the presentation here, like it shows like your ship landed in the jungle, and now I'm like, there's some swimming involved, and like in the demo that I had played before, if I recall correctly, I don't remember there being like a dash mechanic or a double jump, so now that's thrown into the mix here. And then this game I'm playing on the standard difficulty, which just has one hit death per stage, but you can, play as many times as you need to. I think there's like a hardcore mode that has maybe a limited number of lives or something like that for the whole campaign. And then there's like an easier mode that I think gives you multiple hits per stage. I don't know how many, but I like that there's a few different difficulty modes. Again, I always tend to lean towards the standard, normal, quote unquote difficulty or the default, but this is another game where just like the pixel art is just absolutely top notch from every single element. Even like some of the swimming mechanics in this second jungle zone have been pretty fun. Nothing crazy or anything. I mean, it's just kind of like standard swimming around, but I just really, really am in awe of this game in action. It's just so cool. And then I guess I'll just give a quick shout out too. I was just scrolling through my wish list on Switch, and I didn't actually even pick this game up yet because I was kind of curious to see how it would run. But I snagged I saw that there was a demo for Bonfire Peaks, and this is one of those games that's just like one of those really like kind of brain teaser puzzle kind of games. And I fired it up just for a few quick minutes, although it seems like the demo is like pretty expansive. It looked like there were quite a few stages, unless it just like, if I try to play some of them, like you're kind of have like an overworld map with all these little bonfire stations or whatever that you can grab, which are basically like a level or sit at, and then those are like a level that you can dive into, and then it's like a this isometric voxel style game. And again, that's why I wanted to see how it would run on the Switch, and it ran pretty well to the best that I could tell. Although it is a game that I feel like it might look a little better on a different platform, so we'll see if I end up snagging it on Switch or not. But nonetheless, it has a really cool opening sequence where you're like riding out on this paddle swan boat, kind of into like nothingness or something, and then your like goal of each stage is just to burn your belongings, which are like this box, and then the game is like kind of grid based or tile based, where you're like moving around and you have to like backpedal in certain situations to walk up a stair backwards so that the box isn't in your way. or hitting the ledge or something like that. Or sometimes you have to grab a crate and put it down and then walk up. You kind of have to backpedal up the stairs. It's kind of hard to explain. But if you've ever heard of games like Steven's Sausage Roll or I think this studio is, I think it's Draknek and Friends. I might be mispronouncing that or misremembering that slightly, but if I'm recalling correctly, and I'll have a link in the episode description here to the game itself, but they've made a ton of like these kind of really kind of heady puzzle thinky games, and I just am a big fan of those. I got to be in the right mood for them, but which is why I didn't like spring for this one right away, especially being that it's a $20 game full price, but it does seem like it's a pretty huge game, and the presentation is definitely top notch, so I'm definitely curious. I'm going to play a little bit more of the demo, but I definitely can pretty much give it a solid recommendation based on the little bit that I played so far, as long as you do like a game where you really are, stopping and thinking and, thinking about your every move. But it does have the undo option. Most of the time you're able to just maneuver yourself back into a position that's, able to retry the puzzle, without having to reset anything, but it does have the ability to rewind if you do kind of get yourself into a pinch. But just a really, really cool game. But yeah, I'm going to leave it there and keep the rambling on the kind of longer, short and sweet side this week, and kick it over to John, Randall, and I for a little video games chit chat. And until next week, we'll catch you then, and take care.
But that's the thing is, like, I feel like I know a lot about video games, and then there's just like entire areas that I know nothing about.
I mean, I still feel that way. Yeah.
Yeah, even when I'm like totally in the zone on the games, like, and feel like, oh man, I know every indie game coming out. Obviously not every,
Right.
but I'm like, man, I feel like I'm even the niche, like under the radar games, and then I'll stumble out down another path and like find some developer, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? And then I'm like, they made all these, and then they've partnered with this. I'm like, what is, like, how did I not ever? How do people not know about these games? It's crazy. Even I was just on Itch.io today, kind of like, thankfully, like any developer you follow on there, it just like pulls up and like throws like 10 game, like anybody who posts something like has it on top of your feed, and then you have to either click on them or dismiss them or whatever. And then it literally, I haven't logged in a long time, and it's just been feeding me I've been just every couple days, like going in and clearing out a few more and checking out, adding ones to like a collection if I want to check them out. And I forgot about that Baba's, or that Mobile Suit Baba game or whatever that the developer released. I was like, this is so freaking cool. Now it was, I think, originally free when they released it. Now it's $4, but that's so cool. Like I didn't realize like how freaking sweet and like full-fledged Into the Breach it looks. Basically, like,
oh my god,
I hadn't seen the trailer for it, but I was like, this looks freaking awesome,
amazing.
Yeah. But yeah, I've just been adding so many more games to my never-ending,
of
never
course,
gonna play all these games collection.
Yeah, one day we're all gonna die, unfortunately.
Exactly. God damn.
And new video games come out all the time too. Don't forget about that.
Yeah, they don't stop making them.
The worst part is like, that's what I think about a lot when I think about like the physical collecting side of things. I'm like, one day I'm just literally gonna die.
Stop it, Kevin.
Someone's just going to be like, oh, these games are worth some money. Well, I'm going to sell these.
Or you'll have
like,
a weirdo
I'm not gonna have like
nephew or niece.
I hope so.
Who's going to be like, hell yeah, I want Uncle Kevin's weird shit.
Yeah,
I
can you
will say
imagine falling into that? Shoot.
My second cousin, which I call him basically my nephew, Drew, we went to my other like second cousin's like dual birthday over a couple weekends ago. And literally as soon as I walked in the door, my little cousin Drew like shuffled over to me, like running as fast as he could, and kind of like slid on the tiles. Is like, so what video games have you been playing lately?
Hell yeah.
I was like, this is the freaking cutest thing ever.
Yes.
It was so sweet.
Fantastic.
So I told him a little bit about Lonely Mountains Downhill.
Ooh.
Filled him in on, I was like, it's kind of like mountain biking. It's like kind of like a racing game, but you're not racing against anybody. You're just trying to like find shortcuts, and I don't know, I was trying to explain it as best as I could.
I don't even know how you would pitch that game, but then you'd play it and you're like, oh my god, I was
just playing it before we jumped
Make it
on
down in one piece.
Yeah.
Did you play today's daily, John?
I did. I fucking hate the Geronimo bike.
I was just gonna say that's my first time using it, and I was like, for a second I was like, is my controller fucked up? I was like, this thing is so hard to steer, man.
Dude,
but
I love that you can fly in it.
I know. I was just gonna say I was hoping I was gonna love that bike. I think my favorite's gonna end up being the boar.
You can. It has some of the best like landing of
like the shocks.
So you can go over an edge and be like, "There's no way I'm."
You can take some massive shortcuts,
That's fantastic.
massive shortcuts. But even again, just seeing like how the level was made, you can clearly see like this was a shortcut that was designed. Yep. And the only thing that throws me off on some of those dailies, though, is when they do like the random checkpoints. I feel like they just like put them in the weirdest fucking spots. I'm like, where's the path? I don't know where to go here. Like there was one point I like went around this really weird roundabout way, and I was like, I don't think that was the way I was supposed to go. I think I went like around the trees, and I don't know.
They're almost meant to be more either like showing you the route that you quote unquote should be going on those, because a lot of those like alternate checkpoint levels, they have like obstacles or things that are like covering up like the main path. So I think it's really supposed to disorient you when you have like the thing memorized and you're like, no, this is the correct path and it's blocked. And then you're like, where the fuck am I supposed to go now?
This was just a totally like I'd never played this track before. So that makes sense.
Like, cause like the second path or segment of like today's thing had literally 3 paths, and I was like, I don't know what is the like regular path in this level,
and that was a fucking huge chunk. It took me like usually like some of the checkpoints take me like 15 seconds or 20 seconds, and then like this one took me over a minute for that checkpoint.
Dang.
I was like, what the hell? Like I must have made a wrong turn at some point.
Like
I was like sweating it. That part was hard as hell too. The camera was that was one of the few times where the camera was kind of a little janky going around that back end of that level.
Yes.
Where the mountain's like in your way. I was like, man, I can't see. There's trees. There's too much shit in the way.
Yeah. Oh man, what a good game! God,
it's so good.
Fucking love it.
It's so good. Even by the end, I was like, I'm kind of getting used. But I think the boar is going to be the bike that I'm going to stick with. Like, obviously can't quite hit the jumps like the Geronimo.
Yeah,
pardon me, like the Geronimo can. But
I'm a trailblazer, but also
that one's pretty good too.
Only unlocked the boar. Like that is the third one that I've unlocked. So I've got whatever the first one is, and then trailblazer and boar.
I was a little ticked because like I had played a lot on Game Pass initially, and now I've been playing on Switch is where I bought it. Yep. And I forgot that I had like unlocked a lot of stuff on there. I was like, I gotta grind and do this stuff. But I will say I started doing that again, and I was like, who cares? I don't mind doing this again. This game's freaking amazing. Yeah. The only thing I wish is that like I wish if you like, for example, if when you played the beginner level, if you beat it in a fast enough time to like beat the expert challenge or the next stage, like just give me the bolt. Give me the like challenge. You have to like actually be on that tier and have it like activated to clear it or whatever.
Yeah, it's a little too particular at that point. Yeah.
Like the menu system is a little wonky. Like
especially now that they added all the daily stuff. Yeah, it's like a little bit like, and you can't change your bike until you're like have a path like an actual level selected. Like if I was like trying to figure out, I didn't realize at first that the dailies like made you use a specific bike.
Yep.
So I was like, shoot, I want to change my bike before I pick the daily or before I do the daily. And I was like, how do I change my bike? And I was like, oh, you have to like pick a trail and then change your bike. That's weird.
It's there's some weird stuff, but like everything else is perfect. So it's like, whatever, I'll deal with a menu system that I like constantly hit the wrong button on.
Yeah, they use every button. There's like 2 tiers of shoulder buttons to shuffle through. It's like, it gets a little complicated, but yeah, I've been loving logging. I haven't gone every day, but I've been going a lot of days. I was actually almost in the top 100 when I finished the daily today. So I was like, let's go, baby.
Jeez.
I've gotten I think once you get to like the last 1,000 places or like 200 places, depending on how many people have done the daily, like it just awards you a flat 400 points. And
that's what I got for a lot of my first ones.
Yeah, I got like either barely over 400 points or just like the bare minimum. But then like 1 week or 1 day of like the season, I got like 890, and I was like, what the heck? Did like nobody else do that day? It's like, how the fuck did I do that well?
Nice. Might have just been in the zone that day.
That's right.
Get the right set of circumstances on the challenge or whatever. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that game is so fucking good. And then
It's
I did
amazing.
crack actually after, because I was editing the episode where you were talking about, it was a save it for the cast chunk, but you were talking, John, about the Ali Ali world and how you weren't as into it. And I was like, you know what? And I think I was saying, I got to buy those DLCs when you were talking about it. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to fucking buy them. And they were on sale for both of them for $7.50. So I was like, oh, nice. Looked like, I watched the trailers. I was like, it looks like it's a whole basically extra world, each DLC. So I was like, that's worth it to me, 'cause I do really like these. With each one has like kind of a new mechanic added too.
Nice.
So I played just a couple stages of the one, but it has like basically these giant like wind gusts that either change your direction or launch you up in the air or push you downwards or
Oh, this is their publishing. Yeah, so they were a publisher.
okay.
Primarily, yeah.
Looks like East 7, East 1 and 2 Chronicles. So weird.
Yeah.
Oh, did they do all of the trails, or is it just one of the trails?
Oh yeah, some of those Trails games came out on Wii, and XSEED was the publisher then too. I remember that.
Trails.
Yeah, Trails
Yeah,
of
Trails in the Sky. Legend of
Yes.
Heroes, Trails in the Sky.
Yes.
Oh, they did Earth Defense Force. Hell yes. Then Trails of Cold Steel.
Yeah, they got a nice catalog there.
Ooh, I
Oh,
like
and
how
Little
this
King
these Chronicles
Story.
looks. This looks nice.
Which one, Randall?
I'm just looking at some of the screenshots from East Chronicles, and I just like how it looks.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Little
they
King
did
Story.
Shantae,
King Story,
too.
yeah. Speaking of Wii, yeah, I forgot about Little King's Story.
I think it's
Speaking of Shantae, did you guys see they're like remaking or making that Shantae like Game Boy Advance game that they apparently
Yes.
were making and
Oh,
never
yes.
made, and now
Nice.
they're making it? I'm
100%,
pretty pumped
yes.
about that, yeah.
I will be getting that.
they did
Yeah,
do
same.
Damon Ex Machina too. Okay, I thought that was it.
Ah.
Nice.
And Travis Strikes Again, No More Heroes.
Dang, okay.
They've got their
and,
niche.
and the remakes of the No More Heroes or re-releases they did.
They're giving us our
Interesting.
offbeat Japanese,
Like action or RPGs.
yeah, action
Freedom
RPGs
Planet
otherwise.
2.
Ah, nice.
Upcoming
Freedom,
release.
Freedom Planet.
Yeah, the Sonic offshoot indie.
Yeah.
You like it a lot with a lilac character, purple cat Sonic person. It's not made by Sega.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Okay.
Man, I just love that it's getting a sequel because that came out so long ago.
A long time ago.
Yeah, they had that sweet
10
collector's
years.
version of that game when we were at that one store
Oh yeah.
when we were shopping around. They had that like PlayStation 4 version, I think, but it was like a giant box. I don't know if it came with some kind of book or something.
Of course.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, what do we want to chat about for tonight?
Well, I did all my content on East, so I got.
Sorry.
No, it's
Hey,
good.
whatever.
I was like, it feels more like a saver for the cast anyway. So you just made that decision for me.
I mean, I'm going to be talking about it more in the future. I actually don't have anything to say about it this time around because that takes a TV, and when people are visiting and I'm hosting, there's no video games happening on the TV.
Yeah,
So-
totally.